Welcome to Marin Voices and Views. With Lawrence A. Strick, I'm Peter B. Collins. In June, Marin voters will choose from candidates for supervisor in 3 of the county's 5 districts. And over the next 3 months, Marin Voices and Views will bring you conversations with the candidates. These aren't formal debates, but we will strive to give equal time as we talk about the issues in play. Today, we meet the candidates for District 2, the Ross Valley. Katie Rice is the incumbent supervisor. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Frank Egger is one of the challengers.
Hello, Peter B.
Good to see you again here, Frank. And we meet Kevin Haroff from the Larkspur City Council. Kevin?
Right. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. Katie Rice was appointed by Governor Brown to finish the term of the late Hal Brown in 2011 and won election in 2012. She was Supervisor Brown's aide for 7 years and co-founder of the Ross Valley Schools Foundation. A Marin native and graduate of Tam High, Katie grew up in Mill Valley, went to Sonoma State. She's lived in the Ross Valley for 20 years and has 3 children. Katie Rice, in a minute, and I know that's a short period of time, make the case for your re-election as supervisor, please.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me here and having us here this afternoon. I think the case for me goes towards frankly, a very busy 4 years, and I think with a significant number of accomplishments in the areas on issues that are of concern to the people of the Ross Valley and District 2. I can start off by telling you that understanding the values of this community are really key. We have a strong environmental legacy, we have a strong commitment to community, and we have a strong commitment to our future. And in the areas of community, certainly, I'm at the ground level working with neighbors, working with the local community on issues that matter to them. We started a yellow bus pilot in the Ross Valley attacking traffic. We've had success working together with the towns of Fairfax and San Anselmo and neighbors there, saving some open space up on the ridge between Fairfax and San Anselmo. I think I brought to the board an independent voice and an openness to bringing issues that are sometimes uncomfortable to talk about to the public forum. And I think that's been appreciated by the community, and I would point specifically to taking a strong stand on vaccinations and also having a conversation around housing, which has been uncomfortable in the past, and I think we've made some progress there. So I think I've have some accomplishments under my belt. I've got some great relationships out in the community and a lot more work to do.
Frank Egger has lived in the Ross Valley for a mere 56 years. He's been elected 10 terms to the Fairfax Town Council and served 7 terms as mayor. A committed environmentalist, Frank has appeared on this show to oppose the desalination issue in Municipal Water District and report about the Ross Valley Sanitary District in the past. He and his wife Ronita are proprietors of
Cazadero
Winery. Frank, in a minute, let us know why you need to replace Katie Rice.
So I'm all about change. I currently hold a position on the Ross Valley Sanitary District where I've spent the past 5 years righting a ship that was in trouble. We've seen the county controlled pretty much by management staff and consultants. And I firmly believe we can save a lot of money and we can take back some of the authority from the consultants. You know, we need to have a community-oriented driven office, not one that's consultant-driven. And those changes will come about. I know I can do that. You know, I've made changes wherever I've been, whether it be Fairfax by passing a ban on use of pesticides in the commons, to the Ross Valley Paramedic Authority, where I helped start the Ross Valley Paramedic Authority in 1982. And that was a solution to a problem where 5 cities could not afford paramedic services, and I helped put that together back in 1982. So there are great changes coming, and I look forward to it.
Kevin Haroff was elected to the Larkspur Town Council in 2013.
City Council, I have to remind you. City Council.
Okay, pardon me. City Council. In 2013, and he served on the board of Marin Clean Energy for 2 years now. He's an environmental and land use attorney, a senior partner at Martin Law in San Francisco. Kevin helped negotiate and implement the 1995 Bay Delta Accord. He and his wife have 2 grown children and a middle schooler. Kevin, you get a minute to make your case for becoming the next supervisor from District 2.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here today, and I want to thank also Katie and Frank for both agreeing to participate in this afternoon's program. I got into this race last year because of concerns that I share with many in our community about unprecedented pressure that Marin County faces to accommodate regional growth and development. Too often, the response of our current county leadership to those pressures has been to promote increasing levels of urbanization throughout the county, particularly along the Highway 101 corridor between Sausalito and San Rafael. This has resulted in levels of traffic congestion that keep getting worse, threats to the integrity of our local water supply, and continuing assaults on Marin's visual and natural environment, the most blatant example of which, of course, is the Wind Cup development in our neighboring community of Corte Madera. I really, truly respect both of the other candidates who stood up for election this year. But I believe that the qualifications and experience that I have as being a member of both the public and the private sector over the years makes me the candidate best suited to provide the leadership our county needs to provide solutions to the challenges that we face.
In District 2, flood control is one of the most controversial and contentious issues. Last November, San Anselmo voters passed Measure D, blocking the use of Memorial Park as a possible catchment basin in the case of flooding.
Right.
Now Fairfax wants to block similar use of Lefty Gomez Field. Kevin, what's your position on Lefty Gomez Field, and what is your priority, or what are your priorities for flood control?
I actually had an opportunity to attend the last meeting that we had on Lefty Gomez, as did Katie. I am very skeptical about the viability of detention basins as the primary way to respond to the flood management issues that we have in this county. One of the things that struck me in the meeting that I attended, both there as well as the Unit 4 meeting that occurred about 2 weeks before, is that the county has made very little progress over many, many years with ample funding in order to address the flood control problems that we have in this community. Virtually nothing has been done but to reiterate studies that have been conducted in the past with questionable assumptions that have been used in the analysis that have been made. I think there are alternatives to Lefty Gomez in that particular area that need to be explored. There may be monies that need to be spent in order to do that, but I don't think it's appropriate to take out existing recreational facilities for flood control programs when alternatives exist.
How about you, Frank? What are your thoughts?
I was the mayor in 1982 for the flood of '82 and worked with then Governor Brown to get the National Guard into Fairfax. We were in trouble. I was just leaving the mayorship in 2005 when that flood struck. So I have pretty much an institutional knowledge of how and why Fairfax floods. And detention basins aren't the solution to Fairfax flooding. I appeared at the Board of Supervisors meetings opposing the use of Lefty Gomez Field and Memorial Park for flood detention basins. In fact, I helped write the initiative, Measure D, in San Anselmo that ended up saving Memorial Park. And I'm working with moms and dads in the White Hill neighborhood area to save Lefty Gomez Field. That is not a proper location for a detention basin at all. There are much greener solutions, and we need to be looking at those greener solutions rather than this consultant-driven program that is all about big projects that will not do the job.
Supervisor Rice?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we all agree on, and I would, between the three of us, and I think out in the broader community as well, is that there is a serious issue with regards to flooding in the Ross Valley. And I think where the disagreement comes, or at least differences of opinion on how to move forward, is what's the best way to address that flooding. I think that the Memorial Park initiative, the San Anselmo initiative, in which voters, in fact the community was very much split on it, when they sent a signal of really not being comfortable with the idea of detention at using Memorial Park for detention, it was an important message and communication, and to me signaled that we need to take a different direction. I believe that detention basins could play a significant role in terms of reducing flooding, but I also understand you can't move forward with a community project that the community can't support at some level. So I think right now the emphasis needs to be on the projects that we do have in the pipeline, the bridge replacements that will make for some reduction in localized flooding, and then also the Army Corps project in Ross, as well as the Phoenix Lake project.
Countywide, renters are being squeezed out by huge rent increases and almost zero inventory. The board recently approved a deal to preserve 27 affordable units in Fairfax, but thousands of seniors, single parents, and young families face housing anxiety. What's the right approach? And we'll start with Katie Rice.
I think the right approach is the direction we've taken now at the Board of Supervisors, which is really about looking at our existing built environment, the footprint that we have in place right now. How can we maximize, how can we take advantage of the footprint that's there? One, to create more housing through second units and junior second units, and also through finding opportunities to make purchases of existing multifamily housing like the Piper Court purchase in Fairfax, in which we can take property that would be going on to the market and rents skyrocketing if it did, and actually deed restricting. So that was a great example of a partnership with the Marin Community Foundation, with EH, which is an affordable housing developer, and the county to actually preserve 27 units of family housing in perpetuity. We have to look at solutions like this that take advantage of the existing built environment, are acceptable to the community, don't increase density, and are working at a very, very local level on solving a very important local problem.
Frank Egger on housing, please.
Sure. You know, the reason those 27 units were still available in Fairfax is I wrote the law that prohibits condominium conversions of apartment buildings in Fairfax. I did that back in the early 80s, and Fairfax lost not one apartment unit to a condo conversion. The owner at that time sued Fairfax over the condominium conversion law because he wanted to create condos out there at the Piper Court Apartments. I was personally served with a $1 million lawsuit for his loss of profits. This case went all the way to the appellate court and became case law. A general law city has a right to protect affordable housing and deny the conversion of apartment buildings to condominiums. Countywide, we're facing the spillover from San Francisco, which is being impacted by Silicon Valley. It's pushing its way all the way here to Marin. I don't believe we need to have rent control right now in order to provide a handle on rents. There are other means to do this.
Kevin Haroff on housing and affordable housing.
Well, there's a couple aspects to the answer to your question, and just to pick up on what Frank just mentioned a moment ago on rent control. I'm very skeptical about rent control. I want to be open to a conversation about it. As I've walked through our communities, and we have in Larkspur a very high percentage of the people who live in our community are in fact renters, and when I've knocked on doors, I've had people ask me about rent control. So I think it's an important issue for us to consider. I think there's serious economic issues with the way rent control has been implemented in communities around this country, so I'd be very skeptical of that as a solution. But in terms of housing and development within Marin County as a general matter, I think it's fair to say that the tendency that the current Board of Supervisor has pursued on housing with respect to affordability issues has been to promote the redevelopment or the new development of greenfield sites in a variety of different locations within the county in order to accommodate high density development. I'm absolutely opposed to that. When we had our housing element come up for reconsideration in the city of Larkspur, those were opportunities that were being proposed for us to do that. I voted against those modifications. I think it's important for us to encourage innovative, alternative ways in which to meet the needs of our community through second housing units and other innovative strategies along those lines.
Traffic is one of the most daily nightmares facing everyone here in Marin. And it's not just on the 101 corridor. Can you please offer at least 3 proposals to ease some of the congestion, especially in the Ross Valley, Central Marin area? Kevin, why don't you take the first shot at it?
I'd be happy to. Over the last couple of months, I've been going to the various workshops and tours that the county has conducted of the traffic solutions that they have been suggesting for Sir Francis Drake in particular. One of the most congested parts of that roadway is the part that is right in my community, the stretch of Sir Francis Drake between Ross and Highway 101. What we've seen being suggested by the county are a wide range of potential solutions that really aren't solutions at all. additional bike lanes, beautification projects, reconfiguring intersections to calm traffic down as opposed to facilitate the flow of traffic throughout that corridor. I think those are mistakes. I really think that there are two important ways in which we can address the traffic congestion problems on Sir Francis Drake. We need to accommodate additional lanes, vehicular lanes, not bicycle lanes, vehicular lanes along that stretch. And we need to come up right now and spend the money that we need to adjust the timing of the traffic lights along that corridor. That money can be spent now. It can accomplish major benefits for traffic congestion.
Where are you going to get the space for lanes for car?
In that section of Sir Francis Drake, that space actually does exist. Now, in other sections of Sir Francis Drake, it's much more of a challenge. But the area that I just described is actually where the traffic congestion problems are the biggest. And the county's own plans contemplate the installation of additional lanes going from west to east, which is where the biggest impact on traffic can occur. I'm totally in support of that.
Supervisor Rice, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first, just to follow up on the local traffic issues and the Sir Francis Drake Corridor project. Kevin's right. What's being contemplated on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard in terms of being able to add a third lane heading eastbound is one of the proposals. It's one of the concepts in terms of the design there. I would disagree with Kevin in that there isn't potential for this broader project, which does involve intersection improvements, which will involve improvements to the light signalization, which is looking at how do we create turn lanes that are more efficient, how do we make pedestrian traffic flow better across Sir Francis Drake in order to shorten the signal timing sequences of those intersections. All those little things can make a difference in terms of improving traffic flow on Sir Francis Drake. It's not a panacea to the traffic, but certainly can make that corridor work more efficiently, primarily for traffic. That's the primary goal of the Sir Francis Drake Corridor project. I think also on the local traffic issue, continuing to attack school-related traffic, which we know represents anywhere from 20 to 40% of commute traffic in the mornings, is key, and that's why I've promoted this yellow bus pilot, which has now been expanded to Mill Valley. And then on the regional traffic level, we have to create those direct connections in San Rafael between 101 and 580. We need to get that third lane open, which is now on the fast track and will be open next year, 2017. And we also need to make improvements on East Sir Francis Drake heading towards the bridge.
Frank, what are your thoughts? I mean, it sounds to me it's a lot of the same old stuff. We need to get people out of cars.
That's what I'm proposing. I'm proposing a new on-demand, app-driven system that will get small, publicly run vans into the neighborhoods to pick folks up, to take them to doctor appointments, to take them shopping. Public transit isn't working for us right now the way it's set up, and I believe that we need to take advantage of the 21st century technology and get folks in small vans. Again, on demand, app driven. It works. It can work. Also, the access to our freeways. We've got one lane off of Sir Francis Drake going on to 101 southbound, one lane going under Sir Francis Drake heading to East Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. That has to be improved. We have to get two lanes going in each direction. That'll free up that traffic that's backing up on Sir Francis Drake in the first few blocks by the shopping center there. And there's no easy solution, but the fact is we have to change the way we think about how we're handling traffic.
Are you talking about privatizing public transportation?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I was a union member for 44 years and a union president, so I am very supportive of public agencies handling public business. I do not support privatization at all. But I'm talking about publicly owned and driven vans to get into the neighborhoods, run by Marin Transit, hopefully.
Can I just add a footnote to that?
Go ahead.
I appreciate those suggestions, but the problem that we have with traffic congestion on Sir Francis Drake is driven by the commute hours. And it's driven by folks like me who actually have to get in their vehicles, take their kids to school, and then drive to work. I work in San Francisco. The only way I can get to work is in a vehicle. We need to have responsible solutions that actually deal with the congestion problems that exist, not hypothetical congestion problems that these kinds of solutions will not respond to.
Okay. Now, given the issues we've been talking about, housing, traffic congestion, and the related matters, some of these seem to be creating tension, or at least the way we approach them, creating tension with the long-term master plan for Marin County, the general plan, which in simple terms has concentrated development along the 101 corridor in order to preserve open space in central and west Marin. So do you believe we need to modify the general plan, or do you want to pursue that plan in place, because of the benefits that it has shown us in the past? We'll start with Frank Egger.
I was part of preparing that original countywide plan, and the cover said, "Can the last place last?" At no time did we ever think of a 30-unit development occurring in the eastern urbanized corridor. The 30 units per acre has come from the regional agencies like Association of Bay Area Governments and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. They're driving those numbers because they're trying to allocate a large number of living units to all of our communities. They're totally out of touch with Marin County. And just the San Quentin Vision Plan that the Board of Supervisors approved, allowing over 2,000 residential units on the San Quentin Peninsula, has to be changed. If I'm elected, I'll overturn that plan. We just can't let these super agencies dictate to Marin County the outcome of our housing solutions here.
Kevin Haroff?
I really respect the work that has been done in the past to preserve the integrity and the natural beauty of West Marin. But I think it's a false trade-off to assume that in order to preserve what we've accomplished in that part of our community, we have to continue to lard up the corridor along 101 in the eastern part of our county with additional development. This county is a low to no growth community. And what I have seen in the work that I've done on the housing element, not only at the county level but also in the city of Larkspur, is that the kinds of pressures to continue to grow and build more relentlessly throughout our communities is simply not necessary, and it's not wanted by the people who live here.
So does that mean that that's it? The people are here and no one else is coming? What does that mean?
That's no, not at all. I mean, it is absolutely possible for us to focus on highly developed existing urban areas already within Marin County, which we've seen doing in San Rafael already, and continue to build out and take care of properties that have been used for other purposes, convert them into new uses, but not to change the character of the community that we have in East Marin in order to accommodate needs that don't exist for population growth.
Katie Rice?
Yeah, I think that the countywide plan that was developed in the 70s and has really guided development going forward has served us well, but it also had inherent problems built in, and we're facing it now because actually I think Marin County is pretty much built out. The Ross Valley is certainly pretty much built out. The opportunities for development are few and far between. So we need to work, I think, with the footprint we've got. We are expected to accommodate all of 1%, I think, of the total growth in the Bay Area over the next 20 or 30 years. This Board of Supervisors has pushed back fairly successfully on the regional agencies in terms of expectations for growth. We are the lungs of the Bay Area with all our open space. We are a slow growth county. We've been a slow growth county. Where we have not been slow growth has been actually there's been a lot of commercial development along the 101 corridor, and we've also changed our behavior patterns. We're driving a lot more. Plus, we've added tens of thousands of new jobs, and those folks who are filling those jobs are commuting into Marin County. We need to do a better job with our housing jobs linkage, working with the existing footprint that we have. We can get creative, we can take care of community members, but we're not going to be growing a lot anytime forward.
Again, just a footnote on that. I mean,
I'm gonna have to ask you not to, and
right.
We have 30 seconds for each of you for our final question.
All right, fine.
And that question is...
I'll get into that in that
Well,
context.
you may be able to answer it right now. We'd like to ask each of you, if you're reelected or if you guys are elected, what's your number one priority or specific goal in your job? Supervisor Rice.
Sure. I think my number one goal is continuing to be listening very hard to my community members as we tackle some of the really challenging issues that are before us. traffic being one of them. We haven't talked about climate change and sea level rise, which I think is actually something we have to talk about, mostly in terms of government responsibility. We have public infrastructure that's going to be impacted by sea level rise. The most important piece of this job is making sure you're listening to your constituents, we're being responsive, and government is working well.
Thank you. How about you, Frank?
I will write the ordinance that bans the use of pesticides on all county property, all pesticides, not just glyphosates. I did it for Fairfax, and it works. Marin County has to get with the program and have a $15 an hour minimum wage. I authored Fairfax's living wage law a number of years ago in 2001 with a COLA. Today, Fairfax's living wage law for contractors working with Fairfax is $20.11 an hour. Marin County needs a $15 an hour minimum wage now, and I will work towards that.
Kevin?
The single most important concern affecting our communities in the Ross Valley in particular is traffic. We need to have practical, reasonable, sensible, cost-effective solutions that can be implemented in the very near term, not waiting until we address our traffic issues, until infrastructure gets built out to accommodate special interests that don't reflect the larger interests of our community. We need an effective flood control program throughout the Ross Valley. We need to take the money that is available to us and has been used to be spent on studies and analyses, and we need to get shovels out, and we need to actually build sensible projects that work for our community.
Kevin Haroff, Frank Egger, Katie Rice, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.